Josh Darrow, Larry Bluestein, AutoNation Gridiron Report
Right
here
here.
on, of course, it's right there on SouthFloridaHighSchoolSports.com. We're right here.
Reunited.
Reunited.
Yeah.
It feels so good. Finally, well, at least we've seen each other
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
We just haven't been here in a while.
No, we haven't.
But it feels good to be back home. And obviously, this has been a time of year just ahead of spring football where you had a lot of 7-on-7 tryouts. You've had 7-on-7 tournaments, camps, and combines, and there'll be more coming up this summer. But we figured we'd earmark in this edition some offensive players who've taken advantage. They're not the only four that have taken advantage, but just some of the players who've taken advantage of their time this offseason. And there'll be plenty more coming over the summer. And then next week we'll do some defensive players.
Right.
So let's start with some
Kind of a precursor because we're going to do a little segment coming up in the next couple of weeks on what to look for during the spring. So
So this is the lead in. This is the lead
it's
into
kind of a
spring
lead on,
football.
yeah.
A couple names to look for, and there'll be. This won't be the only four. There's too many players down here to limit it to just four. But that's all the time we have. So we will start with two rising seniors in the 2015 class, both at the wide receiver position. Andrew James of Westminster Academy, who committed to Wisconsin, and Austin Maloney, who has definitely caught our attention. Let's start with the kid from Dade County at Columbus, Mr. Maloney.
Well, we've had an opportunity to watch him at tryouts and then play for the Express. Watched him against some tremendous talent. This is a kid that he has speed. Now, he and Anthony Olivencia, people get him a little bit mixed up. One's a little bit taller,
Right.
but the Maloney kid, what he does is he runs off great defensive backs. He knows how to run patterns. He has tremendous hands. He's just a go-to guy. I mean, they're going to have a couple of go-to guys. They have the kid Jerron Rollins now at Columbus,
right.
so he's going to be another one, and I think that really helps him. That really helps him, Maloney, in his senior year, especially because now you're not going to be able to double team him, and he's going to get single coverage, and he'll eat you up. I mean, like I said, his pass route running is exceptional. I watched him a lot last year, but really focused with him this offseason, and this is the type of kid you want on your team, a dependable guy that catches the ball out here instead of letting it get into his body.
Well, speaking of wanting, Wisconsin won and received a good wide receiver at Westminster Academy, probably flying a little bit under the radar,
Yes.
but he's going to the Big Ten, so that's job well done for Mr. Andrew James at Westminster Academy.
Yeah. Well, we learned one thing, Josh. We're not going to take any Westminster Academy players and put them under the rug. And Danny Cannell, who probably was one of the top athletes ever in Broward County. I mean, there's been quite a few football players who we were alerted kind of 2 years ago to what James was going to be. Fast kid, slightly built, but then all of a sudden he found the weight room, grew a little bit, and wow. What Wisconsin's getting is an exceptionally quick kid who knows how to play the game. He's well coached, just a tremendous student in the classroom. The coaches, anybody who's ever watched him play, had him at an event, or had a chance to just meet with him, will always say the same thing. He's a very good kid who works extremely hard in anything he does, and that's enough of an endorsement to say, hey, the kid belongs in the Big Ten. He belongs in that environment. And yeah, he was an under the radar player, but there's a lot of kids, especially in the, I remember University of Miami had Derwin Jones, who came, the late Derwin Jones, who came out of Northwest Christian. I mean, how many people go to Northwest Christian for their players? But Derwin was one of the best defensive linemen that Miami ever had. So, it's not, especially in this state of Florida, you can go to 1A, 2A schools and it doesn't matter. You're always going to find some of the top athletes. So
Great value.
Doesn't
get good value.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Westminster, and some of the other small schools that we cover, Champagnat's a perfect example. Well, I don't know if they're a perfect example, but they're an example of talent.
Absolutely. So here's at least two kids at the wide receiver position, and got to say the months of February, March, and April are super fun. May's a great chance to get out. So Austin Maloney at Columbus, maybe catch him in what they're doing this spring, and Andrew James at Westminster Academy, both who definitely benefited from this offseason, and we were glad that we had a chance to see him. For Larry, I'm Josh. Another edition of the AutoNation Gridiron Report here on SouthFloridaHighSchoolSports.com.